This, to me, was more of a like, hey man, we're fucking normal people like you guys are.
This is Big B telling you to listen to Top's Daily Grind.
It doesn't matter what skill set you have, what experience level you have. You can be fucking Delta Force SWAT Team Operator 6, SAS guy.
Actually, in Colombia, they call me Rambita.
I am your host, Aaron. I got a couple jokers with me here today.
I'm not fucked up. I'm drunk.
And then when I'm done with that, I put Vaseline, actually, around the edges.
This is the Top's Daily Grind.
Maybe you do the intro, EJ.
This is the Top's Daily Grind coming at you. Get ready to get sharp, get deadly, and get ready. It's the Top's Daily Grind.
All right.
He's much scarier in person.
Episode 102. Yeah. I had to get that in there.
He got beat up early. Yeah. Welcome, EJ. Welcome to our humble podcast.
Guys, it's humble beginning. Honored to be here with you here. Where the knives are made, where great people are, family. This is Americana, 100% made in the USA. And finally getting out here, seeing how the soup's made. It's my honor. I'm impressed. It's the quality control that goes into everything, all the steps. You guys, you got it right. Anybody would do well to listen to your advice, take your lead, and we'll keep all the secrets quiet of all those special techniques you use.
Appreciate
and do you realize, folks, that these guys dip every knife in hot sauce? It's crazy. And that's why these blades are so hot.
Cholula.
Yeah. Cholula.
You can't say Cholula.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah, because it's not sponsored.
No,
Yeah.
plus that's a
Fuck
trade
'em.
secret.
Oh,
You guys are both
it's
We're gonna have
trade
to,
secrets.
we're gonna
over
have to
here.
change it now. Damn it,
Anyway.
Edgar.
You just beep that word. Just beep it.
So did it live up to your expectations of what Tops was like when? What, you hit
It
him like-
actually, honestly, was beyond. I knew it was good. I knew, and I've seen a lot of custom knife makers making knives. I've been to a couple other setups, but just to see the facility you guys have, and I know you're working on getting a bigger one, but to see what goes on at your two-part facility and to see everybody with a smile on their face working here, taking care of people, that really does my heart well, because everybody here that I saw working enjoys what they're doing, and that love and that passion, that spirit goes into every blade that's touched, and I see that. And then just the technical stuff that you guys are doing, it's just so impressive, and yeah, it was more than I expected. It really was impressive.
That's pretty cool, EJ. And I know last time when you were on the podcast, I didn't make it.
Yeah,
I
you were.
didn't want
it
to
was
be
over
there. I
Zoom.
didn't know what
It was over a call, right?
Yeah, it
It's
was
just a
over.
phone call.
Yeah,
It was a Zoom call.
Audio.
A Zoom call. But yeah, we really, we're really honored to have you on.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate sharing my time with you. I don't get out this side of the country much, but when I said I was coming, I'm coming. And you guys were on my schedule roster to make sure this happened. And it's a day later than I think I was planning, but man, when you're traveling from the East Coast and you're hitting Arizona teaching survival classes and doing campfire chats and then up to Moab and trying to take a F-250 with a 5x8 and a little trail that only Jeeps go down, people looking at you, is this guy crazy? Yeah, pretty much. Just so I could camp out at the Colorado River at the base of some beautiful Moab mountains. Then coming up here and hitting the snow through Utah, Salt Lake City, northern section, and then coming out to be up here in Idaho for my first time. There's no way I'm not stopping it.
So where are you coming from? Where's your
Okay, I'm based out of the East Coast. I spend out of North Carolina is where I retired out of. So I'm on the road a lot. So you'll see me up in Maryland a lot. I train up that way. I hang out there most of the other time of my life. If I'm not, because it's got my footsteps right there at Harper's Ferry, up to the Appalachian Mountains to do all the stuff I do to train folks. It just gives me a lot of variety with river, mountains, woodland, and I can get everything done that I need to with my basic classes. Then down in Virginia, out in Tennessee sometimes. So I love that part of the country the most. It just sings to my heart. I'm trying to find some off-grid land up there to eventually build a compound and then bring that stuff there. A lot of big things happening for me this year besides you guys. We're going to be at Blade Show this year, and that's going to be awesome. But I have Mr. Beast YouTube. I'm doing some projects with him. I just released my basic survival course in an 11-part series video, and we just broke it down for streaming into smaller segments so it's more affordable for folks. So you go to ejsnyder.com. You can sign up for live training. You can sign up for my campfire chats. I've just put a whole line of survival gear up there, as well as my survival foods and knives. Our knives are up there, obviously. So if you're getting ready for bad days, go to my website, ejsnyder.com. You can follow me on any social media at ejsnyder333, or YouTube is Eventure EJ Skull Crushing Life. And it's not just about survival outdoor skill stuff on my YouTube channel. It's about just what I do, living my life, getting out there, breathing. I call it hashtag 50 teens. I'm in my 50s. I'm sucking the bone marrow out of life. And people say, "Why don't you have a bucket list?"
Yeah, he sucks the bone marrow out of something.
You don't do that. You don't do that too.
I've never
You're not a bone marrow sucker.
I've never tried bone marrow.
No.
Oh, it's very good for
I
you.
got to be honest.
Bone marrow is actually really good.
Oh, so you know about it?
No, I don't. I crack it. I crack it in half and scoop it up with a spoon. Yeah.
I put it in a taco.
Yeah, I put it in a taco. And then,
It makes your
it's a
beard
little
grow
bit
better too.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe John should try
Yeah,
some.
you should.
He does.
So anyway, so that's what's going on with me. Like
Why
I
is
said, I'm
his
going to be
beard
all
grow?
over the country this year.
So this trip that you're doing now, this I could say journey you're doing right now, is that something you had planned? Is that something that you had to do?
It kind of morphed. It was started out with some people asking for survival classes. Would I travel? And the first one was in Arizona. Then I had a second, and unfortunately they had to cancel because of COVID. And then I started picking up campfire chats as I went, and I've got two more, one tonight and one tomorrow. So I'm doing a survival class out in Lander, Wyoming, which is with Josh Kirk. They call him Native. He's on Mountain Men. And he runs a buffalo ranch out there, and so we're going to do a survival class out there. So I've been kind of piecing it along. I'll be probably going to be in Aurora at the end of the month in Colorado at the Survival Prepper Expo, and it's like I started out just kind of get on this side of the country and come see you guys, and then there's been a lot of things popping up as I went. So
That's cool.
and I go with flow these days. So if Spirit guides me somewhere, that's where I go.
So you really don't have a schedule that you're working on?
Sorta. I found that if I just go where the spirits guide me and stop being so regimented, like when I was in the military, great things happen. And I don't worry any longer about, can I afford it? Can I do this? Can I do that? I just roll where the spirit guides me to go. I touch people. And everyone I meet, like this morning I was getting some coffee. And my foot slipped off the brake, and I kind of bumped this guy's little Subaru with my big F-250 with the zombie crusher on the front. And I was like, oh, my God, I have to get out the tops. So I stop, I jump out. All the people at the place I was at were looking at me at the drive-thru, and they're like, and I jump out, and I'm a massive guy. So this smaller guy looks at me, and I'm walking up to him, and he's like, oh, my God. And it was nothing happened to his car. And I looked at him and said, oh, it's okay, it's okay. I'm like, all right. And I gave him a big hug. I was like, hey, have a good day. Be safe, man. I'm sorry my foot slipped off there. I'm glad you're okay and your car's all right. But it was like, and he's like, oh, it's cool, man. And so I try to be me, and everyone says on TV, it's like they think it's an act. And though I do have camera timing, I don't do anything other than who I am in real life. You guys know that. You've known me a long time. And I'm just blessed if I can touch another human, and especially in these days, I would say be a better human. Be kind to others, because we need a lot of it.
Yeah, I got touched this morning.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You got
You deserved it.
Jesus got touched.
Yeah, but not like in the women's bathroom. But okay, let me by EJ.
That's his office.
Let's leave it there. Let's keep going.
That's his office.
So if you haven't seen it, go. Yeah, it'll be somewhere, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But it was cool getting to see EJ this morning. It'll be right here. It'll be right here somewhere.
Yeah, Jesus deserved all of it.
Yeah, I did deserve all of it, apparently, according. But it wasn't me that was saying stuff. I think it was this guy right here, and I got an audio clip. So can you hold up before you play it? Is there anything you want to say to EJ before I play it? Before I play this
was probably taken out of context. I mean,
no, it never is. Go
You
ahead.
almost crushed the throat of the wrong person.
Go ahead.
No, definitely
Go
not.
ahead.
And if you want your dick jerked, just let me know.
hold on.
Hold on.
Good
Hold
job.
on.
If you want your dick jerked, just let me know.
What was that? Play that again.
Yeah, play that again.
Wait a minute.
Dick jerked, just let me know.
One more time.
And if you want your dick jerked, just let me know.
What the fuck?
That was the wrong button, Karks. Oh. I don't think we.
Did you not?
I don't.
You said the orange one.
Oh, that is
He's
true.
colorblind.
No, that's
No,
that guy.
that's him.
That one.
Well, never mind.
Good job, Craig.
Yeah,
Good job,
no, that's not it. Okay, no. So yeah, I don't have a clip.
I talk a lot of shit, and so pretty much every button on that soundboard is a clip of me saying something that's embarrassing.
I was just hoping he'd
Say something.
he'd say something. He'd
Help him.
confess something that he didn't actually say. But.
Well,
No, it
I
was
could take
definitely
him
all
back into the
Jesus.
ladies' room like I did you and waterboard him. He should. We'll get something out of him.
I don't think that's necessary.
I think that video would go viral.
I'm pretty sure that Jesus is full of shit right now.
Yeah.
That video would go viral.
I'm gonna be wearing a neck brace
That's
on Monday.
it. Everybody gets waterboarded except Leo.
I'm down to try
I think
it.
you
Let's try it with that one.
you scared the lady that's in the inventory. He's like, is that he with you guys?
No,
I'm
he scared the shit out of Hallie.
Elliot?
Oh, Hallie,
Hallie was typing,
Elliot
and he
too.
comes in and yells, and Hallie hits her coffee and just
She wasn't in on it. She looked at me. She's like, sir? Where is he?
He's like, I'm EJ. And she's just like, okay.
She's like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, EJ's probably
That's
here.
just EJ. Yep. Yeah.
And then I come out. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's EJ." Like, it's
That's how he says hi.
yeah, that's how he says. Hi. That was fun. It was a good way to start the morning. And now my adrenaline's come down, and now I'm kind of like,
Now he's all sleepy.
and now I'm sleepy.
Mine never comes down.
Now he's crashing.
Yeah, I'm crashing now.
oh man.
So
Hopefully you guys got that oh shit on video because that was hilarious.
Which ocean?
When
As
he's
soon as
walking-
Jesus opened the door, he's like,
soon as-
oh shit.
when he seen EJ turn around,
Yeah, I was like,
he's
oh,
like,
shit, man, I
oh
ran.
shit, and ran back to Hallie.
I think I did get it because
I
I started
hope you got
recording him.
I don't think you got where I said that I had a hostage, huh? Because I grabbed Tally.
Did you really grab her?
Yeah, well, I kind of hid behind her because
You
DJ
hid
was running
behind
towards
a
me.
woman?
Of course.
See, he even caught me off guard because I thought we were gonna.
Yeah, he caught me off guard because I was going to go say hi, and then we're going to be like, okay, what are we doing? And he just chased me. So
I
I'm
thought
like,
that
okay.
too, but
I thought we were gonna
You can't plan that
storyboard
with
it.
EJ.
I thought
No,
we
you
were
can't
gonna-
plan it.
I thought
It's fun.
I gave a warning. I'm
did.
coming in the building.
He's a
I'm
man of
coming
his
for
word.
Jesus.
that's true.
Yeah, he kept his word. And
I impromptu a lot of stuff.
Did you guys get some questions?
yeah, we have a few. And
So he doesn't see the questions.
yeah, and then he's got a lot more on his phone. So the first one was, that's a nice jacket. What brand is it? The one you were wearing?
Oh, yeah, that is a jacket that I wore on the show Mountain Masters that I just recently hosted that aired on Inspire Network. It's a survival skills series, much like filmed in the premise of Forged with Fire, where 4 people compete and they head up a mountain. They're doing survival skills the whole way. It's something the public's wanted for a long time. Hoping it gets picked up. It was a premiere pilot episode. It did really well. The Inspire Network, if you don't know it, is that channel that bought up all the cowboy shows. There's Gunsmoke, all the old Westerns, and they do a show with Trace Atkin called The Great Cowboy Roundup. But out of its 800,000 loyal viewers, we had 500,000 stick around to watch it. And they're the creators of Mountain Men. And that jacket is by a company called the Outback Outfitters. And I got it up in Big Bear, California. And it's like a nice canvas, oiled kind of a rancher coat. And it's super warm. It's got a nice liner. It's a very good company. And I've got a lighter one that I wear. And it's become my favorite jacket. I really...
Do you have any other shows coming up that you can talk about?
Not primarily. I mean, I will say that you'll probably see me again soon, but I can't really say what. It's G14S classified, so.
Oh shit, that's like high level shit, huh?
But yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
That's Trading Places and
Aliens.
Eddie Murphy,
What he's talking about.
Dan Aykroyd. But
Come on, ask him about aliens now.
But
Can
when
I ask
it-
my own question?
when it pops, yeah, you'll know. It's going to be a big surprise, and that's about all I'm allowed to say about it. And
That's cool.
But it really is a culmination for me.
So there's a new thing.
And I will say that you will see the SXB in action. And I had Hunter do some of his, that goes by DB Hemlock on Instagram, did some of his Viking work for me. And I had him put Viking runes on there because I have some Viking blood in me. And I wanted 12 ruins of Viking ruins on there that meant something to me for my journey for a while. And I was going to take it to the Louisiana swamps, but I absolutely got to do it on another adventure, and it's going to find itself honored in a certain way. And I can't wait for people to see that.
That's going to be badass.
That's awesome.
Okay, so there's another. So if you had to pick one outdoor skill to learn, obviously there's so many important ones.
Right.
Which one would you say, pick this one and start with this?
Right. I would tell folks they don't put enough attention into shelter building. Shelter building, and the reason I say that, everyone might think, oh, well, water and fire, they're all equally important. Water's life's blood. Fire's your friend because it does so many things. But if you build the proper shelter that can house you, it's all about keeping your core body temperature in check, whether it's cool or warm. And there's certain shelters you can just build that, you can stay warm in without having anything else. People don't put enough, I can just throw up a lean-to. Well, there's a certain practicality in terms of roof building, keeping water off you, understanding the proper layering of shingling with whatever type of vegetation you got. If you're using moss or whatever, you can really, I've made shelters, and I'm a natural heater anyway, that they didn't make them too big, but they were enough to I block out all the air, and yeah, they get pretty warm. And so shelter building, I think, and I'm the son of a carpenter, so it's one of my favorite things to do to honor my dad out in the wild is to build good shelters, to honor him. I remember banging, nails and roofs and building stuff with him when I was a young man as a carpenter apprentice. So to me, shelter building, I would say, get that down, hands down.
Is there a time of the year where not having a good shelter is okay? Or is it always
No,
needed?
because I'll tell you, in the Amazon was the closest I came to hypothermia in my life.
Where it's hot.
Because I didn't have, it's temperate, and a massive rainstorm came in and dumped on us for 5 hours. And the only thing I had was some palm leaves and a crappy basket over my head because we were traveling. We left our shelter. We had this bomber shelter that would have held up great to that storm. But when your core temperature, you don't have clothes on and you're getting wet, even if you have clothes on, you get soaked to the bone. It doesn't take long for your body to chill down to 95 degrees and you're in trouble. I literally was speaking in tongues. And all I knew was I needed to get myself and Laura on a raft and start rowing to get our blood flowing. And thankfully the storm ceased about 30 minutes later. But that goes back to core temperature. And so you never want to blow shelter off. Even in the desert where I was, a cave, a rock overhang, get out of that sunlight. A little bit of shade goes a long way because shade in a hot situation will lower, raise the temperature of coolness by, lower the temperature by 5 or 10 degrees. If you want to heat your shelter up or something, just a simple candle. Or even if you drive off the road in your van or your car and it breaks down and you're in the winter situation, just have an emergency candle in your vehicle will raise the temperature 5 or 10 degrees, which is way better. If it's freezing temperatures, you get it up to 40 degrees. That's a lot warmer.
Just with the candle?
Just with the candle.
I don't know.
Yeah, as long as your windows don't break.
Yeah.
You can keep some of that heat in there.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's a good thing to know.
So, yeah. But
I don't think I had a candle in mine, but I have a wool blanket for sure.
And I always say that was a skill, but mindset. Your mindset and your will. My motto, tua sponte superstes, is Latin for survive by your own will. The mind is the most amazing tool in the box. Like Johnny Rambo said. He always said in the movie, I always felt the mind was the best weapon in war or in anything. And if you have a sharp mind and you just think outside the box, don't give up hope, keep focused on the situation and always know there's one more thing you can do in an emergency or survival situation. Just keep swinging. And it comes down to that mindset. You can apply it in life, life-threatening illness, doing bad in school, having relationship issues, whatever, job problems. Just keep your positive mindset and focused and see the end prize. You'll never go wrong.
That's probably why the placebo effect is such an actual thing because you're playing with that mind.
Absolutely.
So.
The mind is a powerful thing.
Absolutely. No, I was going to say, does your mind ever get kind of foggy in the situations that you guys get put in, where there's no food, no water, it's hot?
It can.
You start making stupid decisions.
You can. Quickly with the law of threes, you can't go more than 3 days without water. Now, a lot of laws of threes have been pushed and broken. I, for a long time, trained dehydrated. So I could get a little sip of water. And it's like a nitroglycerin blast. And so I want to be able to stretch out my water with minimal to no water to about 5 days. But About 5 days, things are going south. Your brain's not working right. Your body needs water to function. Your body's made up of mostly water, and things start shutting down. So, there's times like that where water intake has been bad. Your sleep, your deprivation, stress, lack of food will make you start making bad decisions. So that's why when you train in survival or anything in life, using knives, whatever, you want to try to make it second nature. So you're not really thinking about it. It's just an action that you take, and you don't have to put a lot of thought into it. So if you go by priors of work and survival, it's shelter, then fire, get some water going, then probably food later, because the law of three says you can't go more than 3 hours without security or shelter, more than 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and in some cases 3 months without social interaction before you start going crazy.
I didn't know that. What's the most you can go without sleeping?
I'm sorry?
Like the most that you can go without sleeping and still kind of function? Because I know there's a point where
I would say honestly, for most folks, after about 72 hours, you're spent. I mean, that's pushing it. I've been in times where, most people 24 hours. You're just like, ah.
Yeah.
And at least if you get an hour or two of rest, and rest is so important in a survival situation, not just for your brain function, but for your body to heal from the stress and all the things it's going through, the physical activity. A good night's sleep. When I first went to the Amazon, my first choice item to bring in was a mosquito net. And, of course, I snuck in 50 feet of paracord on each side. Spent about 6 hours lacing that through the mosquito net because I wanted to have extra materials to fish with and whatever. But my thought was if I could sleep for 10 or 12 hours in a mosquito net, and it was temperate, I don't have to worry about the mosquitoes getting me. I would get a good night's sleep, and I'll figure the rest out. But in that particular time, we went in because 3 people quit the Amazon. They want us to have the same 2 items of a knife and a fire starter as the people that quit to show we could do it. But my thought was, sleep is critical. So the mind is always thinking because you can make anything you need in a jungle situation.
Yeah. Do you ever go back and watch some of those shows and be like, what? Like, what are they doing? Like, they're all the time.
All the time. I mean, it's highly edited in some cases, but the challenge of Naked Afraid as well as Alone is very real, and it's a very real thing. And then you get 509 hours on a 21-day challenge whittled down to 43 minutes, and everyone thinks, oh, that's exactly what happened. Not really. I did eat a little bit more than that, but they just didn't show you.
They can't,
But I go back, I watch folks, even myself. I'm very self-critical. Wow, I could have done this, I could have done that. And it's for my own learning, You're never going to get it right.
I think all of us have that, no matter what it is. All of us will look back at something we did and we're like, fuck, why did I do that?
And it's a learning process. And people say, where does mental toughness, where does your mindset get developed from? Can you train it? You're training it every day of your life. From the people you meet, situations you go through, your problem solving. That's what brings mental toughness, and then putting yourself into the fire. If people say, well, you're 56 years old, why do you keep going out there and taking years off your life? I'm like, on the contrary. I'm breathing life into my body, and I'm healing myself, and I come out better for it. But I'm going to learn something about myself, and then I'm throwing myself in the fire, just like we throw these knives and we heat treat them. You want to heat treat yourself and know what you're made out of, because hard times don't last, but hard people do. So don't coddle yourself. Go after it head on.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one of the things I always think, like, they plan for these survival situations a lot so that they can survive, but then they're also putting themselves in that situation. So it's kind of like counterproductive in a way. But
and
you look long term, obviously it's for the best.
Yeah.
But
Every time I go into them, like, for instance, a 40-day Naked Afraid challenge or whatever, I go in there with the attitude, I'm going to build something and get myself set up for 40 weeks. That way, 40 days is nothing.
Yeah.
And people go in there and they start whining, like, yeah, it sucks. And I'm like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. Go down there to the frigging lake or the river, look at your reflection in the water, and thank yourself and smile, because you're the one that sent yourself out here. Nobody twisted your arm to get out here, and we don't need none of this negative energy in this place. We're going through some tough stuff, and we got to work good together. And in most cases, that's not going on out there, but occasionally you'll get a Debbie Downer or a Johnny not happy, and it's like, and when you're in that kind of situation with a group of people and we're all going through it together, as soon as you get one of those, that's a cancer. And if it starts creeping into other people,
do you think they do that on purpose, though? Purposely cast someone who's not qualified to be on the show That way they can run into like
Issues? Like
issues.
drama and stuff.
Not in the sense of skill set and what they're doing. They know exactly what the person's capable of because I am part of the casting process. I interview folks through a process called the PSR interview. When they leave me, they have a true PSR, which is the primitive survival rating that they see on the show. And I've taken those 3 categories and I've broken them into 6. So an average person, if they're mentally prepared, tough, got some life experiences, are adaptable, and they're physically fit, they're smart enough and physical enough not to die in 3 weeks, but their skill sets may be, but they can get through it. So I process them and I do a profile on them and I get into their mental state, their personality traits. It's a skill set I got out of the Army when I got out as a contractor, which makes me a very good person to do these interviews. So when I send them that sheet and they make the final decision on casting, they know they have an 80 to 90% solution of who that person is, well-read and thought out. And I do that in about a 30 to 60-minute process. So the shrinks see them and everything, and then they put their little 2 cents in there. So they know, just like on Survivor, when they cast that show, they have all these different shaped pegs, triangle, rectangle, circle, octagon. And they're looking to match some people up. And possibly to your point, yes, they probably put some people together that may have a little friction. But that's life, right? You got to work with people sometimes you don't get along with, and if you're going to make it to the end, you got to figure a way, and that makes survival a little tougher.
Because we were trying to get Skarks on, but
Jeff was actually we were going to go out with Jeff, and he was going to do something out in the woods, but then we just never did.
Yeah, COVID hit.
Oh, man. Well, I'd be happy to do that with you guys, come back and get everyone out there and do a test. I mean, on my website, I offer the Naked Afraid experience if people want to go through it. Where
Naked?
Well, we put them in nudies. So you wear like a, tan colored or whatever your skin color. We get those nudies and we put you in them and you go out just like that. Some people are like, oh, we really want to go naked. I'm like, well, no. I'll have, if I get private land, but being on, it'd be a little weird. I really don't want to be charged with pornography or whatever. So we put them in nudies or bathing suits or underwear, whatever they're comfortable with.
We're trying to explain that to the police officers.
It's like, what are you guys doing out here? But we also offer the dual survival experience. It will put you in a scenario just like on dual survival. And but a lot of people that want to go on Naked Afraid that think they can do it, come out and have a 3 or 5 day Naked Afraid experience and then figure out whether you really want to do it or not, And but we could run some kind of a survival challenge, set it up, the tops grind or whatever we'll call it out there, and
because Skarks is the one that was interested the most.
No, it's because
but my 3-day basic course, we can get the basics in probably 2 or 3 days, and then we put you through a 24-hour scenario. All right, we're going to throw you out there. Here's your magic backpack. This is what you got. Put you in an area and then do your tenets of survival, and we'll see how you fare. We'll grade you and see what you look like in the morning from what you've learned. And you can even, you can go on my website, and my basic survival course is on video. You can either stream it, buy it for DVD or thumb drive, and now we have it broke down into streaming for just sections. Like you want just shelter, or you want food, fire, water, and you can get it. And that's my entire basics course for the everyday Joe or Joan, because I'm not trying to build the next Bear Grylls. I want to build everyone that's going to see bad days, and they are coming, to take care of themselves and their loved ones. And that's why I have the course the way it is.
Has there anybody that you've been on the show with or seen on the show or part of the selection process where you're like, this one's not going to make it, and they did? Anybody surprise you?
Yes. Because the human spirit is an amazing thing, and you really, truly don't know what a person's going to do. People you think are going to do. People that you think are going to do well, they don't. And some things surprise you, and sometimes some people are like, nah, I knew that was going to happen. And some people, like my partner Max from the Swamps, amazing guy. Started out as a fan, and then he's had every time he went on a challenge, his partners were just like, oh my God, this poor guy. And he became my partner, full circle, to become a legend out there in the Swamps. And he's my second longest person I've had on Naked Afraid at 33 days. And he's just a great young guy and a great success story. And he's just gone back out and just did a 21 day. So, he's got 6 challenges under his belt, just like, he did really well. And so, and it was a really neat experience for me, because here was an older guy and a younger guy, and both from two opposite spectrums of life, of experiences, what we went through socially in our lives, and didn't agree on certain political points and other things, but we each learned something from each other. We loved each other and supported each other to get through the process, to get to the end. And to see that combination where people can come together from different backgrounds and work in a survival situation to get through it. And just you could do that, apply that in life. And so that was a great experience for me to have him as my partner. And he was in some really low points because he had never been away from his family during a holiday, and we had Thanksgiving. And we had just lost Gary, who was with him the whole time, and he was really taking it hard. And God bless him, because I'm not disciplined at food. If we got food around, I'm the old ranger. I'm going to eat everything in sight, and then we'll worry about it tomorrow. He saved gator ribs for us to have for Thanksgiving. And he was just really down. And I went out, and I had carved us each a couple of beard combs. Mm. And I handed him that beard comb, and I was like, hey, Max, I really appreciate you. I couldn't have really probably been out here much longer. I needed your help, and you came when I needed it most because I had speared my testicles out there, and they were stitched up, and I couldn't do certain things because
you want to see the scar, John?
Problem. You want to see that? It's pretty big.
For those who couldn't see or hear that, he was definitely nodding. I've seen John get excited about vaping.
Wow.
That's about it. Vaping and EJ's testicles.
Whoa.
The two things that excite him.
They are legendary, though.
Yeah.
Well, when I seen when going back and seeing the video that the show that you and Jeff did, you guys just had a blast out there.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, the bad thing was Discovery had, when they approached us, they were like, what we want you guys to do is the most extreme. When your back's against the wall in a survival situation, what are you prepared to do? Exactly how far will you push the limits? They never really transcribed that to the audience really well, which did us a disservice because people saw us doing certain things that in survival protocol, you'd be like, but I spent 40 days with that kid out in Colombia. He's like my little brother. And, and we really bonded, and we had our own way of doing things. And we were under the attitude, we're going to survive 40 weeks. Where the other group, which their survival strategy works, it's a strategy. It wasn't mine. I was out there to grab life by the horns and make us live. And then we got to do dual survival, and it was like traveling the world, hanging out, just having a blast, getting to really have love and fun and showing people how to survive a bad situation. You find yourself in it. And then we were in Turkey. It was 2016, that summer, June, and there was a military coup happened. So me and Jeff, we were on a layover to head to Africa, and we were in the international airport down in the basement of the Turkish, the Istanbul International Airport, and they have this like kind of mazed hotel down there, and it's in the basement. And so we had just checked out of our rooms. We were on a 14-hour layover, and we're walking. Jeff's eating because he eats all the time for a skinny guy. I don't know how he does it, and we're walking along. He's eating this food, and I'm drinking a beer, of course, and we're trying to get down to the gate. And I'm like, I look at the flight sign, and everything's canceled. I'm like, well, that's weird, Jeff. Maybe that thing's broken. So we're walking down, and we're on the far end of the gate. And we're going. I'm like, and I see another one. I'm like, oh, that thing's broken. And then I get a text on my phone. Hey, where are you guys at? I'm like, oh, we're going to the gate. We're catch the flight. We wanted to be there early so we could hang out. No, hurry up, get back to the international airport. Or back to the hotel. There's a coup going on. I was like, oh, shit, Jeff, there's a coup going on. I was like, what's a coup? I'm like, oh, that's when the military takes over the country. Fuck, well, we better get back there. So we start walking back. We start passing by the main part of the airport, which their airport's really weird. They have a quick little security spot, but 3 weeks earlier, terrorists come in there and blew himself up and killed a lot of people right at that very spot. So I look over, and I see this guy with an AK-47. He's firing across. I'm like, oh, Jeff, look at that dude, man. He's starting to freak out. I'm like, dude, wow, that's pretty low. And then this tank rolls up. So this guy with an AK shooting at this tank, and the tank stops, and he starts firing, and this dude's running, and people are in the airport now screaming and running everywhere. I was like, fuck, dude, let's boogie. And we book back, and we get in the hotel, and everybody's freaking out. I had been in, combat a couple times, so it was like, oh, just another day at the office. So we got in the hotel rooms and the crew's there, and we all gathered up, and we make a plan. But I'm sitting there in the bed, and he's watching the news. And he won't get any rest. I'm like, Jeff, if we have to boogie out of here and escape and travel many miles, you're going to need your rest.
Yeah.
So I suggest you get some sleep. So I roll over and start snoring. So he takes a picture and he's like, the world is falling apart around me. There's tanks and planes bombing this airport. And this 25-year Army Ranger is over there sleeping like a baby, snoring away. I think I'm in pretty good hands. So it's like, but yeah, to your point, we had a great time. I just linked up with him last night here, and of course it was his birthday at the Texas Roadhouse, and got to put him on the saddle. And he's like, "Oh, you jerk!" And I was like, "It wasn't his birthday, but it was that night."
It wasn't his birthday.
What else you got there, Jesus?
No, hold on.
No,
Before he moves on,
Oh.
I had a question. I mean, we're all getting older.
Yep.
Do these shows get harder for you? Because knees start hurting, elbows start cracking. Like it's not your body's not going to be young forever.
Well, it was very cold in the swamp, and cold just really gets to your bones, and all your aches and pains and your experiences over the years start catching up to you. But I just love being out there. That's where I hear God's voice loudest, is in the wild. And I know I'm put in that place for a reason, not maybe for myself, but for others. And I was the oldest one out there. I was 55 at the time. I turned 55 before I linked up with the big group. And the closest person to my age was 35. And a lot of them could have been my kid. And they're sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, most of you could be my kids. You were not even born yet. You were probably wetting your diapers when I was in high school. You were just graduating or whatever. But they all looked at me and they said, EJ, we don't know how you do it. Because at your age, we're not going to be out here. And I was still moving about doing what I do because I just love it. But I was feeling it a little bit. And then just went on a recent adventure and really was feeling it a bit. I mean, sleeping on the ground, everybody's making these cots with vines. They're making these great hammock cots. And I'm like, nah, I don't trust my body weight. I mean, I've been losing some weight out here, but I'm made of steel. You put me on that, I'm probably going to break through it, or it doesn't seem too comfortable. So they had this big, I called it a portable massage table. It was nothing more than a smoothed out rainforest root that they're flat. And I just laid on that the whole time. And everybody else is in these fancy little comfortable, and the oldest guy out there is sleeping on a piece of wood the whole time and using a log for a pillow. But you're right. It is getting, I am feeling it a little bit more, but I'm a representative of my age group for people that are in my 50s age group, maybe in their 40s, and they look to me for inspiration and motivation to be able to go out there. Now, I've got my disabilities, I've got my pains and my lumps from all my years of the military, and I have to figure out how to operate around them. And I just, you just can't lift things as much as you used to when you were a young man, so I just do what I can. And everything you do in a survival situation helps. If it's me tending fire, picking up the smaller pieces of wood, letting the young men like I did, let Gary and Max hammer the big trees with the axes. And Gary's closer to my age, but he was a beast with that axe, boy. He loved his Pulaski, and I just let those guys bring in all the big stuff. And you have to be in touch with yourself. You have to be humble, and you got to leave ego aside. And I want to get out there and get after it, but I got to understand I'm more out there now with my wisdom and things I can guide people with. And I'm starting to get more comfortable in that role. And I started learning that in the swamps of Louisiana. When I prayed and meditated every day, and Spirit spoke to me and said, you're going to be putting down the spear of the warrior and picking up the staff of like the druid, the elder. And you're going to have to guide others, and you're going to have to be comfortable with that. The warrior will always be there, but you need to start moving into this role. And so it's hard to admit you're getting old, right?
Were you taking any psychedelics out there?
Psychedelics?
Have you tried any of it?
I didn't run into any crazy.
Across any of that?
I only ate oyster mushrooms, and they didn't really psychedelic
Those are
anything.
the best kind you can get.
But I didn't try any psychedelics out there. But there was some poison frogs I ran into, and apparently
You lick one?
Like
Homer?
You'll be sick for a minute, but apparently they use that same poison to have enlightenment, and they put it in. The medicine men will put it in you in a certain
They have like a sore on their
session.
arm.
Yeah, sore on your arm, and it actually works. A lot of people that were doing it.
That Joe Flowers.
Yeah, Joe.
With that tribe that he works with down there, they do that before they go hunting.
And what it's supposed to do is exactly
you throw
right.
up, you sweat.
Yes.
Like The idea is you're clearing all your toxins. You're shedding all of all of the bad stuff out of your body, so you can be clear for the hunt.
And all of your senses.
No, I never did it. No, fuck no.
All of your senses increase by times 5. Apparently.
Yeah, that's what they say.
You can see further. You can see sharper. All your sensors up. All 6 of them. Your sight, your smell, your touch, taste, everything is extremely heightened for about 72 hours, including your 6th sense. Feeling, spirit, and all that stuff. And they do it in the Amazon all the time, and it's a practice.
Damn. I think one of the hardest things for me would be just getting past my inner voice. Like, it just be bugging the shit out of me.
You got a lot of them. What are you talking about?
Right?
Just one?
How do, the first time you went out,
right?
Because it must feel lonely just being with, one other person.
I tell you what, for me, I do a lot of things by myself. And so I'm comfortable in solitude. When I do things like that and I'm videoing, that's my Wilson. The millions of people that are watching the video, I'm talking to them and whatever. And I like that peace and solitude. But I always say life and going through these things is better when you go with some other person, because they know exactly the trials, the tribulations, the joys, the sadness. And you got someone to kind of even just talk to and lean on. And when I did my alone episode in Bulgaria, which was to date still the toughest and most dangerous one I've done to date, because Bulgaria was trying to kill me. And there wasn't a lot to heat, and I'm up at 3,500 feet. It was super cold, the coldest I've ever been in my life on any of the challenges. And I didn't really feel lonely out there, even though I was by myself. That just makes things a little tougher. You do things differently. But the loneliest I felt was in my hotel room after I came out of the challenge, and they brought me my celebration meal. And the crew came in and congratulated me and said, okay, there's your meal. And they left. And when that door shut, I looked around, and I didn't have anyone to celebrate with but myself.
Oh, that must suck.
And that was the loneliest I felt on my alone challenge. And I was like, wow, this is what this feels like. Because I remember the first time when me and Kelly were sitting there, first ones to ever do it. My tradition is whatever's the last meal I eat before I go in is the first meal I eat when I come out. That's just my tradition. And we had some of the best lasagna ever in Tanzania, Africa. And we were eating that, and there was a big chocolate cake, and we felt very accomplished. And to sit there and celebrate with her what we went through, even though we didn't get along the whole time, we culminated and we really got really close at the end. That was great, because we both suffered so much through that first one.
Isn't that bad for you though?
What?
They probably portion control your meal though, right?
According to the show, you guys don't eat very much, so you guys lose a lot of weight, right?
Right.
But then instantly feeding yourself with that amount of sugar, that amount of
I don't eat a lot of sugar. When I come out, I just don't even want it, crave it, makes me sick. And so I always tell them when I come out, if they give us a quick snack before we do, I say, give me beef jerky. I want raw meat, grilled chicken or a salad or something. I'll eat an apple. I'll eat some fruits, watermelon, something like that. And they always want to try and shove a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your face and candy bar and a Coke. And I'm like, you need the energy. I'm like, do I look like I've lost any energy in 21 days? I'm always at the same level I am right now. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I need some good things in my system, just so I'm good. But that's a good question. And my stomach just shrinks, so I only eat so much. But some of these young guys, they kill it. They're pounding it in. I'm like, oh, you'll be puking soon. I've seen that before.
Do they not control the portion on your first meal? They don't. No. They're not stop here kind of thing?
They bring in, here it is. Here's your food. You eat what you can handle. And everyone has different levels of what they can eat. I didn't eat peanut butter for years. When I got out of Ranger School in 1988, I ate peanut butter for a year. And after that, I hadn't touched it. I still haven't. The first time I touched it was in Louisiana when I finally got out of that challenge. I just wouldn't touch it. And I remember getting out of my first XL challenge, and I'm sitting there, and they got stacks of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I'm like, oh, God, I don't need. And I tried to eat one, and I hadn't ate peanut butter in so long, and I took a couple bites, and I was like, I handed it to Chris. I was like, here, you finish it. Him and Jeff ate 13 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches each. And I was like, I want this bananas. I want the watermelon. And I ate one chocolate chip cookie, and it almost made me sick because the sugar was just too much. Because you clean yourself out there. You're eating like a caveman, and you eat as good as you can. And your ketosine's on a super level.
That's why I feel you would get some sort of shock, all
like
that
a sugar shock, maybe. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They got medics there. I've never seen it happen. I'm too busy concentrating on eating bacon and stuff. So
I would imagine people are either throwing up or shitting their brains out after that first meal.
Yeah, I try to eat moderately because I know my stomach I don't want to be impacted. I don't want to put a bunch of junk in there right off the bat. It's just too much. So, and you can literally smell the sugar. If somebody opens up something that has sugar in it, you're like, oof, geez, that's enough.
Yeah. So somebody asked why they stopped Dual Survival because they said that you and Jeff were awesome on it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting me and Jeff in Dual Survival. It was a combination, I think, of older fans wanting Cody and Dave and all the other former hosts to come back, but a lot of them had either been fired or quit the show, and they weren't never coming back. And I understand, appreciate their loyal fan base to those hosts. I'm honored because they paved the way for Survival TV and for me to do the things I'm doing now. And Dave Canterbury, Dave, if you're listening, brother, thank you so much for all your friendship and brotherhood over the years. Dave has been him and Michael Hawk, of all things, were two good mentors into the TV world of Survival for me. Always been there to support me, answered questions. And so I was honored to be on that show and follow all the amazing hosts that came before me. But Discovery, and in truth, there was not much more we could show because I asked for a matrix in an Excel spreadsheet of every survival skill and task that was displayed in scenario, where it was done, by who. So I could see what was left. And I went through the survival manual and I highlighted pages of everything that was left. And so when me and Jeff were done with that season, there really honestly wasn't anything left in the Army survival manual or any survival manual that's out there to show people a certain skill set and even tweaking it. So a lot of things have been already tweaked 2 or 3 times to add something. So they put it on hold indefinitely, and I even tried to have it come back where a female could be a co-host or something like that, a different version that they would accept. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe they'll do it 3 people. Cause
maybe they should do like an urban version, like in the city somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did one scenario of a city thing, but I don't know. It just so so that's all I can say is Discovery left everybody hanging. They should have made a public statement of why that was happening. And man, I would have loved more seasons. Yeah. I mean, it was a great crew, very close, and we got to go out there and do some real-time stuff to show people. I mean, whoever thought we could make a fire roll, an old Boy Scout trick with 2x4s, a piece of cotton, and some charcoal, and we did it with a clipboard. I mean, and I wouldn't have believed it. I said, no, it's not going to work. And me and Jeff practiced it for hours until it worked. And we made sure it could work. And everything we did out there, if we knew we were going to do a certain technique and show it in the scenario, we made sure we practiced. And failure in itself, you have to be humble and show failure. And if it failed, sometimes things did. Mm-hmm. And you adjust. That's a survival situation. But I didn't think that one was going to work. And it did. I was shocked when we get the first call, Ember, and I was like, that freaking worked. But we had to do a lot of extra work because 2x4s are a lot heavier, and that pressure on that cotton's very important. So when you have a flat piece of clipboard that's made out of pressed wood or whatever, it's like you got to push a lot harder and faster on your own. So,
and that's dangerous too, right? Over exhaustion.
Yeah. You can get to a point where doing friction fire and you can just exhaust yourself if it's not working right. Bow drilling, hand drilling, whatever it is. I mean, I'm proud to have done actually took a technique out in Utah when we were in the desert episode, and I took a technique that I had taught a student earlier the year before, and it was called the gas pedal hand drill. He taught me that. I know I'm always humble enough to learn a new thing from somebody else, and I used it on TV, and I got a coal within 26 seconds using yucca and Sida. And the yucca was the hand drill. I tied a piece of cord to it and put a gas pedal on the bottom of it, another stick, and I used it with my foot. And I can only just use my hands high on the hand drill, which a hand drill is a tough technique. And it went right in the fireboard. In 26 seconds, we had a coal. Then we needed for water, of all things, to get this crazy still Jeff was making to get us some water. And I was proud to take a student's thing that they taught the teacher and put it out there as a practical technique that had never been seen before. And pretty proud of that.
That's cool. It's always cool learning something from somebody you don't expect, especially a skill that you didn't even really think about.
That and admitting to it. A lot of people would have
changed it a little bit and call it theirs.
I thought of this.
And I get very emotional when I do primitive fire and I start yelling. I mean, fire is so important. And people, why is he always yelling? Well, I'm screaming to the gods. I'm screaming to the spirits, to all the warriors that left this earth before me, all the pioneers that did these things, my heritage. And I just am excited about life, and that's just energy busting out of me, and I'll go to tears with it and all, and it's just, I really don't care what people think about that, and it's just who I am. And Jeff stole my screaming, by the way. He sounds like a goat.
Somebody asked if I'm still.
I love you, Jeff.
Somebody asked, is it still possible to survive in the wilderness without tools?
Absolutely. Ancient people have been doing it for tens of thousands of years. People are still doing it today. You can find something to create what you need, whether it's sharpening a piece of obsidian stone to make a knife, to do everything else, getting a piece of stone and sharpening it down to make a hatchet out of it, making primitive cordage. I proudly love that I can go out into the wild and love taking just my SXB out there and can create anything and everything I need to live. And I did a video, knife only, after I did during COVID, I filmed that entire 11 video series with my son filming me, and we went to the woods, and everyone's like, you can't be in the national state parks. There's COVID. I'm like, well, they're not going to be where I'm at, so I don't really care. Yeah. And it's not their woods. And I'm most quarantined with me and my son than anybody's going to be, and I filmed a knife only video. But you can take away that, and you can find what you need in the wild, whether it's for food, water, to make fire. And your skills have to be on point. So don't go out there trying to do this and think, oh, I'm going to do it because EJ said so. No, I only advise it if you've had the training to do it.
Yeah, so that comes back down to the whole mind thing being
mindset. Yep. And necessity is a mother invention. So if you need it, you're
gonna figure it out. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason most people don't really they don't know how to survive just because they don't have to. And so like, if you're put in that situation, your mind is pretty creative sometimes, and like, yeah, you do have to practice, but a lot of times that kind of survival instinct has to kick in at one point. And
instinct will kick in. The natural primal instinct will kick in to survive, and that's how you have these earthquakes where after a week of digging through the rubble, they find a little child still alive because that will to live is so strong in humans. And if it's not, you will not make it. And to go out there with your mind and think outside the box and MacGyver something and just, there's always another way. I got to figure this out. And problem solving out there is critical. And teamwork. If you have somebody out there with you, it's an amazing thing. And there's this right near here, a young lady who was 16 years old who used to watch survival TV with her father, and they loved it. That was what they did. But she had never been out camping or out in the wild ever. So she got on a private plane, flew in by her grandparents, and they had another couple were with them. They were flying, I think, out of Montana, and they were flying to Tacoma, Washington. They crashed somewhere in these mountains up here in Idaho, up in the north area. And I believe it was just entering into Washington State, and they went down. And when she came to, she looked around and started taking action from what she saw on survival TV and put it into action. She just remembered it. And she checked on everybody, and unfortunately everyone was deceased. She knew she was by herself. She tried to put out some signals in case they were looking for her. But it was getting very cold the first night, and she knew she wasn't going to make it any more nights. And then she just figured it out, started heading downstream because downstream will head you to civilization at some point. She was drinking just water out of the mountain river, which was probably pretty safe, pretty cold, fed by springs, eating clams and snails that she found out of the water raw just to give her some energy and some berries. And she just pushed herself for 5 days till she found a road. Some people found her. She was, pretty weathered, and they got her to the hospital, get checked out. But she lived because she watched these programs and maintained that knowledge. And even though it was her first time putting a lot of it into practice, she lived because of it. And
it's that hope thing, like you were saying about those rats, or what is it that they put in the water?
Oh yeah, I don't even remember where I heard that initially, but they put them in water and let them almost drown.
Did that one
pulled them out?
Pull a string? That story?
No, I got contacts. I changed my contacts today, and they're freaking dry, like really dry.
That's why I'm like, that one.
No,
did you know the lady?
No,
it would have been more because I like animals. I would be the one that should have been. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's new contacts, and they're super dry.
No, but I get that. Like,
but
he was saying that.
No, you're good.
No, even if you don't learn, like when you learn these techniques, kind of like when Ed was showing us, even if you never use them, well, hopefully you never use them, but you kind of know how to use them if that situation ever comes.
Yeah, I think you have to practice them so you don't forget them.
That too.
You don't want the first time you're doing something is to when you go to the field, unless you wound up in that scenario. And I tell people, practice it. Oh, I've seen all these things I can do. I'm like, you got to put your hands on it at least once. And I always tell people there's 3 things on this earth every human should know how to do. 1, swim. Because swimming will save your life.
First one.
Swimming is a critical life-saving skill that everyone should at least know how to do, or at least tread water. So you can, somebody can get to you, give you help, or you can save yourself. Basic first aid, because you can save yourself and the life of others. And then basic survival principle skills. Just even if you only know 3 to 5 different things in each of the categories: shelter, fire, water, and food. Very simple, basic things. I have a down and dirty day where I just take one day and teach you 5 things out of each category, so that if you wind up in a bad situation with a little survival kit in your pocket, you'll be okay. A way to get food, a way to get a shelter up. And if you can get those hardened skills down, those just have 5 good base skills you can lean on. And forget all the other extra stuff. You can learn that later. And I'm actually invented something. Hey, Jesse, if you're out there listening, let's put that on the website, please. The Down and Dirty Day with EJ. Thanks, buddy.
I just invented something.
So thank you. I'll give you credit for that. The Jesus program. The Everyday
He can't
Jesus.
swim.
Oh, you can't swim? Eyes out. Sorry.
What? I can learn.
Talk about throwing him under the bus.
Oh, man, you have swimmies?
Talk about throwing me in the water. 'Cause that's more dangerous than the bus.
Yeah, that's true.
No, the bus will kill you instantly.
Not
The water, you might at least
That is
thrash
true.
your way to the edge.
Or you can hold your breath a long time and walk on the bottom.
Yeah, you never know.
He's all walking at the bottom.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end.
What if
right?
I get into that situation? All I can think of is EJ telling me to sink. Like,
And then
EJ
just
said
walk,
sink.
and then
Sink
just
or
walk.
sink?
Any other questions you guys have? Because I know EJ has to go. We talked to him downstairs.
Got to be on Fox Live here. in a
Oh,
little
yes.
while.
Somebody said that if I'm still scared of you. No.
Yes, he's definitely.
Yeah, I am.
That's a yes. Yes. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who has the best ass
Oh,
out of everybody that's been on Naked and Afraid with you?
Myself, of course. It's the most famous ass outside of pornography in the
He's
world.
got to let go of ego, he said, and then.
Yep.
But he's got the
Right back
best
into
ass.
it.
how long was your...
The best ass. I don't look at people's bunions that well. I'm not like studying them.
EJ, you're out
EJ,
there
come on.
naked for how
The first-
how
the
many
first-
days?
at least
you
the first
see
2
one
days.
butt, they're always the same. Come on.
At least the first 2 days, you're...
How quickly
you not care?
does any thought of any type of sexual activity disappear once you're out there? Like, how fast is that just gone?
It's not when I go into these challenges. It's never on my brain. For me, I mean, me personally is about. There's a mission ahead. I'm an old, military guy. There's a mission ahead of me. What's most important? Because once you take your clothes off, and clothing is your first layer of shelter. It's also
Yeah.
a physical layer of shelter plus a psychological shelter
Yeah.
because you
very
bare yourself to the world.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you take your first steps, like in Africa, I took 5 steps. I had a thorn in my foot. I was like, geez, I got bigger problems than clothes. I need shoes.
Yeah, you're no
This
longer worried about
sucks.
sex.
Yeah, and it's like you hear lions roar in the background. You hear, and there may be some people out there that's on their brain and good on them. They're sick, but whatever. I mean, for me, it's about the mission at hand and what to do. And you see everybody's naked. Everybody does their best to cover up pieces and parts and, so and you try to give them the respect.
You know what? Perfect timing. John, are you going to ask EJ your question?
John,
Are you going to
He's
ask?
talking to
Okay,
you.
I got you. So he said, why does EJ's blur so small?
My blur is not small, John. You better put your glasses on. You must be looking at somebody else.
throw his
I'm like, you know
little
what?
I
Save it.
am
Like I
known
told
for
him,
having the
save it for the
largest
podcast.
blur
Yeah.
and the size of the show. In the history of the show, I have the largest blur, and that's because I pay the editors and give them very good Christmas presents. And it just keeps expanding.
Does that answer your question, John?
It blurs up to the top.
Blurred, and it's like,
no
whoa,
longer worried. Now it's John.
hey.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
John, the one to fear now.
But
Yeah,
I think everybody respects everybody enough out there not to gawk.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a tough enough situation. And then, it's like,
Somebody else we had on. That's the
Those
first thing
ladies
they
are
said,
brave,
too.
though. Those ladies that go out there.
everybody.
Because everybody, but imagine getting paired up like these big old dudes and just it's got to be scary for them too.
And I mean, well, there are some skilled women out there, and I have met. I mean, if it wasn't for Suzanne and Sarah, I mean, I knew the cold was going to really play hell on them. They were very thin. I think both of them together didn't even weigh as much as me. And I tried my best to keep them warm, but they helped me build one of the most amazing A-frame shelters that I've ever built that kept me in the fight. Once they were gone, their spirit was still there. And so it doesn't matter what you contribute. And poor Suzanne kept saying, "Oh, I feel like a sidekick." I said, "You're Suzanne. What do you mean? You've got a lot to contribute." And, you and I have conversations all the time that intrigue me and keep my brain working functional. And I'm just the bear in the group, and I'm going to haul the bigger stuff. But you two ladies, get on that end, and we make it work. Everybody has a value in a survival situation. I never say I'm the grandmaster, and they get intimidated by me. "Oh, you're the god. Why do you say you're EJ Snyder?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm the most humble guy. I'm going to give you your part, and I'm going to give you credit, and I'm going to build you up. Because if I build you up, you're going to be more valuable to me than me tearing you down and trying to say, 'Hey, let me do it. I'm better than you.'" The one thing in the swamp was I had been in the swamp, and that's the most zone I've ever been in anything I've done outdoors, especially surviving or hunting or whatever in my life. So I had like 3 times the amount of years of experience in a swamp than everybody else combined. It's just fact. But I didn't press that on anybody. It was just, I'm here, let me help you. And so, yeah, there are women out there that have some great skills, and they do their part. And you can't discount anybody, because somebody can help you in some way, in some fashion. Everybody can contribute. You just play to your strengths, and the other person, hopefully, you'll be your yin to your yang and shore up your weaknesses. Yeah. And I needed them too. I'm terrible at plant ID, and here comes Sarah with a whole bowl of salad and mushrooms and stuff. I'm like, I'm glad you figured it out, because
psychedelic ones.
Not psychedelic ones. No.
And I guess finally to end it, is there anything like you'd like to end the podcast with, like
just once again, I am honored and humbled to be a part of the Tops family. We've been friends and family for a long time. And it all started with Mike Fuller reaching his hand out to me. God bless you, Mike, and rest. And but him extending his hand and saying, "EJ, let's have a conversation. And I like what you're doing. I like what you're representing." And he took a chance on me when a lot of other people weren't. And that meant a lot to me. And so I try to give that same courtesy and this respect he showed me, and the humbleness to put his arm around me and to bring me in to others. And so I try to pass that on. And when you do that, you're duplicating that energy to others. And so, folks, just hug each other, be positive in someone's life. And the actions and the words you speak to someone you meet, even if it's a total stranger, you don't know how that's going to impact or change them. And it could even save their life just by one kind word or putting your hand on the shoulder. That person could have been getting ready to, like we have a lot of vets out there, 22 a day, committing suicide, which is an atrocity. And if you put your arm on somebody, even with the COVID and all the strains we have in mental stress, just be kind to one another. Generate that positive energy, get it out there. And like I said, go to my website, ejsnyder.com, for all things EJ in survival, in life. Sign up for a class, get a video, whatever you want to do. And all my social media links are there, and you can connect with me. And people have always said, "Hey, send me a message." They said, "You can never answer every message you get. It's impossible." Mm-hmm. Well, unless you wind up in my spam folder, I try religiously to at least give you a thumbs up and say hello to every person that ever messaged me. And don't know if I've probably missed a few, but I've done the best I can to answer questions. So, and I'm very approachable. As you see me, you get what you get. So
just don't say anything bad,
except for you.
Yeah, except for me. No, but
I'm hands-on with you.
Thank you for joining our podcast. That was awesome, EJ.
No, thanks, guys.
It's awesome to have you. Hopefully, you can be back soon. And
thank you.
Do it again.
Hopefully later on we come on the warmer days, and we can go out and do some playing out.
Sounds good. Good. I'm enjoying the snow for what it is. You don't see it enough. So
see you guys.
Appreciate it.
All right.
You guys.
Yeah.
See you guys.